So, welcome to eye fixation and eye techniques. This is one of those fascinating NLP techniques that can really get you some answers into the deeper core of the problem. So, eye fixation and eye techniques can prove to be very powerful to a hypnotist and an NLP master. The eyes are the windows to the soul. Learn these two pieces of information, and they can really place you a cut above the rest. So, eye techniques can help you with understanding if the client is lying or not. What are they constructing information? What are they hiding or covering up? It can also help you to learn how to construct and express information as well. So, when the client is constructing the information that may not be actually the truth, what is the expression going on behind it? What is the emotions behind what's happening? It can help you know if they're truly opening up to your service. Are they really taking on the lessons and going to take them out into the future? It gives away secrets of the underlying issues for your client. So there's many times where I've asked a particular question, I've watched the eye movement of that person, then I've realized that I need to ask that question again, but just in a different way because they're not actually constructing the correct information and getting to the underlying issue. It also can make you a better poker player. No, seriously, it can. If you work out the eye techniques and where the eye is going at the appropriate time with the question or the statement, then you can actually pick up on some other underlying things that are going on. That's why so many poker players actually wear glasses, because they know that eyes are the window to the soul and it is giving away information all the time. So there are nine main ways for eye movement that will reveal personal information. I've also included some extra stuff down at the end of this video and in your manual as well, and it's known as eye body language. So eye movement is a way that people access, create, and gather information on a conscious and unconscious level. That's how we're actually working out what is inside our mind in our filing system as such. So remember, when we talk about eye movement, you will be facing the client, so it will be opposite. So their left is your right. Ensure that you understand that reading eye movement has to be approached with empathy as well. As much as your client's eyes might say that they're not telling the truth, this does not mean that they're lying. This means that they are just trying to construct information to make it a more appropriate response. Maybe they're protecting themselves or something like that. So make sure that you respond appropriately, otherwise you will lose rapport. So reconstruct the question or statement, or break the state, move to a different subject, and then come back to it when the client is more open. So when the client is looking straight ahead, or anybody, it doesn't even matter if it's a client, a family member, whatever, when they're looking straight ahead and they're expressing information, or they're really indulging in what you're saying, it shows that they're interested and that they're interested in what you're talking about, okay? And they're interested in the lessons and things like that. It shows that they are interested in what is going on according to the lessons and morals that they have adapted into their structure of reality. So in other words, you're speaking their language. They're really delved into what it is that they're learning from you, or they're trying to teach you. It doesn't matter if the information is correct or not. All that matters is that it works for the client, and as far as they are aware, this is the right information that was taught to them. If they're looking up, the person is carefully constructing the information with emotion and logic. So this is known as the learning state, and like I said in the previous video with the Hackelau state, this is where they learn and they open up. So they're actually learning what's going on, and then they're actually constructing it in their mind with their emotions and their morals and stuff, and seeing, does that work for them? Does it fit with their morals? Does it work with their emotions? Does it work with their logic? Because if it doesn't, they'll immediately look straight at you and go, no. So if they're looking up, they're actually absorbing that information. They're just trying to construct, does that work for their logic and their emotions? When they're looking up and to the left, this is called visual remembered. So they are seeing a memory. They are seeing everything that happened around them. They know what was there, what was going on, if there were other people and things like that. They're actually visualizing a memory. If they're looking to the left, this is called audio remembers. So they're trying to remember the sound that happened at that time. Maybe they're trying to remember a song, or they'll be sitting there and they'll be thinking, who is that actor? I know that voice. They'll be trying to recollect the words. What's the words of that song? La, 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 la. And they'll start to sing it to themselves. So this is known as audio remembers. If they're looking down to the left, which means you're right, this is called kinesthetic remembers. So they remember the feeling. It can be a good or a bad thing. They might be looking down and smiling and giggling and yeah, I remember that time. So this is called kinesthetic remembers. They're remembering a feeling and they're starting to enhance it inside themselves. If they're looking up to the right, this is known as a visual construct, trying to construct the information that's logical that may or may not be present. So try it for yourself. This is a really, really fun one to do. So just imagine you've got let's say a jacket in your wardrobe, and you can say, is the jacket blue or red? And you'll actually find your eyes automatically looking up, sort of thing, and going towards the right, because it'll go, is it there or is it not? And then all of a sudden your eyes will flick to the left as it goes, actually, I remember it being red. And if you say to yourself, no, I remember it being blue, you'll actually feel inside yourself that this is not the correct information. So have a play with yourself. It's really, really good fun. Think about something that you know is to definitely be true, that there's no argument otherwise, and then ask yourself, is it something else? And feel your eyes actually flick up towards the right as it tries to construct the information. Looking to the right is an audio construct. So they're trying to construct the sound of what was heard. So what exactly did that person say? I can't quite remember. It might have been something along the lines of blah. So they're actually trying to construct the audio back in their mind of what happened or something along the lines of. If they're looking down to the right, this is known as auditory digital. The client has lost their natural learning state and is stuck in being analytical. They will react based on being told what to do rather than what they naturally wish they could do. So you will notice this in a lot of abused people. And it doesn't mean that they have been abused, it's just that they've been told this is the way it's done and you have to do it this way and there's absolutely no compromise. You're not allowed to think outside the box. And it just doesn't fit with them, but they're going with the flow, they're doing what they need to do. So this is also known as robot mode. You'll see it a lot at people when they're doing checkouts. They're like, do, 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 and they'll actually be looking down towards the right. And that's because they're just doing what they've been told to do and they're in that audio digital state. Looking down, the person has gone into the submissive state or they're actually just not interested. So if you come across a highly abused person, they'll go into a submissive state, or even a child that's being told off by a parent of some sort, they'll actually look down and they'll go into that submissive state. They'll really drop into that feminine state. Or maybe they're just not interested. They just started looking down at the floor because that's just a more interesting place to look at. And it's less obnoxious to look down at the floor to pretend that you're not interested than to look up and pretend you're not interested. Okay? So as you found out, some of the information can be constructed, okay? This is done for various reasons by the person. So maybe it's done because they don't want to accept what truly happened and they're just trying to work it all out. Maybe it's easier for them to just make up another story. That happens quite often with people because they're just not coping with the situation. Perhaps it's happening because they're just trying to make sense of it all. Even they don't understand what happened, why it happened, etc., etc., etc. So maybe they're just trying to make sense of absolutely everything that occurred. Maybe they're just trying to feel significance or recognition about the situation. You've all come across those people that all of a sudden they're like the main instigator in the story or the head honcho, or maybe they said something and you were like, I don't remember it happening like that. So maybe they just want to feel significant and recognition, and they'll actually construct the information so that it fits their story better. Maybe they do it because it just enhances the information or their story. I've heard people tell stories. They're like, oh, I cut my finger and there was blood just going everywhere. And I was like, that's amazing. I thought it was just a pinprick at the time and it got fixed with a Band-Aid. So they're enhancing the experience to make it a bit more dramatized or a bit more involved or something like that. Or perhaps they're doing it because that's their interpretation of the information. When people are listening to information, they actually only take in 33% of the information that comes across verbally. So perhaps they only heard part of it and they went, yep, that fits in with my morals, that fits in with my structure of reality, so I'm just going to go with that and start spreading that information. And that's where a lot of misinformation comes out into the world because the person has interpreted it correctly. A lot of people do this with contracts as well. So they'll sign on that bottom line saying that they've read it all, isn't that the biggest lie in history, saying that they've read the contract, the terms and conditions, and something goes wrong, they'll go back to the person for the contract, and when the contract's pointed out, they'll be like, oh, but I thought it was this. And it's just that they've interpreted the information in a way that suits them, in a way that works for them, and then off they've gone. So, as much as the information may not be correct, it doesn't mean your client is a liar, okay? Some may be lying, that like you'll know if they're lying, but understand the underlying emotion that goes with the construction will allow you to dig deeper into the hypnosis and your NLP tools so that you can break through that information and achieve a better result for your client. So, if somebody is constructing information, start to listen of to what's not being said or start to feel of what's being expressed. I was always told that if you eliminate the sound of someone's voice and focus on their actions, you have the truth of their lifestyle. So actually feel their emotions, look at their expressions of their body or something, because that's maybe why they're constructing information, because this emotion has become too much for them to deal with. So, for example, I once played a computer game with a lady, and in the computer game, you would sail a ship as a pirate around the world looking for treasure. You could always make alliance with other pirates, and then you could receive a cut of that treasure as well. So, as soon as we would make an alliance with another ship, she would say, I don't trust them. If they come near us, we will attack and we'll break the alliance. And I always thought, you know what, what's making her feel so insecure all the time? And we used to always say to her, look, just calm down, it's okay, calm down. And then one day I said to her, what needs to be said for you to relax about the alliance? And she never responded. But what had happened was that I'd actually taken her from a constructed audio response of I don't trust them to her emotion of feeling safety, where I've said to her, what needs to happen for you to feel safe about this? And once she expressed that we just didn't need to go near those other alliance ships and we need to stay away from them, that's what we did so that she would feel safe, she could relax while she played the game. I was listening to her tone as she was actually speaking and I was watching her body language and going, I think she has trust issues. So therefore, I now need to reconstruct a question so that she can go, I need to feel blah instead of blah, so that way we can get a better result for her. So I was watching her eyes as she could construct this audio about how she didn't want to be in alliance and she didn't feel very safe. And when I asked her what needs to happen, she's like, I just need to feel safe about it. I need to just relax about it. And I'm like, all right. So how do we make you feel safe? Oh well, let's just not go near them. I'm like, right, let's do that. So that made her feel safe. All of a sudden, she's making alliance with other ships and she's gaining that trust back. And that's where she was bringing reality into an imaginary game. And then all of a sudden, it became very, very real for her. So, some other types of eye movements to note also include rapid eye movement. A study done by Johns Hopkins Medicine in 2014 reported that people who are less patient or are impulsive will actually move their eyes at a greater speed. So, you probably won't pick up on their decisions because they happen so quickly, but you will notice that they'll look around a lot more. So, if your client is looking around the room a lot more and they're moving their eyes rapidly, you may wish to do the pace leading technique to help them to relax into the environment. Plodding eyes reflecting a wandering mind. So, when the client is actually not interested in the subject, they'll begin to wander around the room with their eyes. This does not mean that you are boring the person, it just means that the subject is not relevant to the results that the client is trying to achieve. This is something we're seeing a lot in younger generations as well now because they're sort of afraid to be bored. Even 10 minutes without their phone or something like that, they'll start to wander and look down or they'll just get out their phone continuously. It's become habitual for them. So unless the subject really, really interests them, they will continue to distract themselves. Slow eye movement indicates there is a level of fatigue there. If a client is moving their eyes and they're blinking very slowly and they're just moving them around, drifting away, this is a representation that your client is fatigued or out of energy. It doesn't mean that they're relaxed. It actually means that they might just be tired. It's okay. So there's absolutely nothing wrong. There's a bit of controversy in the hypnosis and NLP industry about this, but I'm a huge fan of it myself. There's absolutely nothing wrong with putting your client into a deep trance state. And then when you get to about 3/4 of the way through, just say to your client, I'm going to go quiet now while you process this information. I'll be back shortly. And whilst they're in that theta wave while they're processing the information, because they're so relaxed, they'll actually drop into a semi-delta wave, and it'll allow them to just get a few moments sleep, like a quick nana nap as such, or a recharge. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with you going quiet for about 5 minutes whilst you actually allow your client to go for a little bit of a nana nap and charge up that energy. They'll appreciate you more for it. They'll get a better session out of it. And at the end of the day, the client will actually go, wow, I feel so much more energized just from that quick 5 minute nap that I had. Tracking eye movement is when you actually begin to master all of these ways of movement of the eyes. So when you can positively influence your client's morals and decisions based on the eye movement and the reconstruction of the question or the statement to get down into that core. So you're tracking eye movement. When you're doing that, that's what you're doing. You're tracking the eye movement. So when you master it, it's a really awesome thing, and you can actually start to reconstruct the way it is that you approach subjects. Gaze cues is when a client's attention shifts. So, for example, a child reacts to a gaze cue by watching TV over getting dressed. So, I've had some of those clients in my room that are actually just sort of staring off into oblivion, but I know that they're not in that theta wave where their unconscious mind is actually open to the suggestions that I'm making. So, what I've actually done with many clients is this is called eye fixation. This is where the gaze cue comes in. Now, it doesn't matter if you want to swing a pendulum or, get a pen and get them to gaze upon the pen. It doesn't matter what you do as long as they're gazing upon an item and they're actually absorbing themselves into it. So what I've done many, many times is I'll get the client to tilt their head so that it's facing the floor, but then I'll ask them to look at the floor just out about 20 degrees in that Hack-Allow state with their head tilted down a little bit. And then I'll say to them, what I want you to do is look out there to the carpet, and I just want you to make some images with the fibers of the carpet. Just stare at it as much as you can. Keep on staring at it. That's it. Keep on staring at it. Just listening to the words I'm saying. And on an unconscious level, you can close your eyes and go to sleep now. And then all of a sudden, that gaze cue will actually turn into a trance. So they'll drop into hypnosis, and then I can start the session. REM is rapid eye movement during sleep. So this occurs when we are in a deep sleep. The amygdala and the hippocampus begin to file and sort all of the information from the mind. So they're upgrading the thought patterns, the healing, the habits, and the protection. It can increase positive emotions and healing. And honestly, who doesn't love a good night's sleep? When you're in that REM cycle whilst you're sleeping, you're actually energizing and you're healing everything. Your amygdala and your hippocampus are processing all of the information that it needs to do. And every so often you'll wake up and you're like, I feel amazing. And that's because there is no more information for the amygdala and the hippocampus to actually process. And you got set into that REM cycle where your brain just went, oh, all right, well, I'm done at the moment. So I'm actually going to, switch off for a little while. So that's a really, really great thing. The more you practice hypnosis and NLP, the more you'll be able to do this automatically. Oh, I do apologize about that. So the more you practice hypnosis and NLP, the more you'll be able to do it automatically. Did you see the slow-mo part where I tried to control that? Jerky eye movement can predict underlying physical issues with the body. So if you've got a client that's doing the wink with certain emotions and stuff like that, then refer them on to an iridologist or a doctor and just get that checked out just in case there's something else going on. So go and practice recognizing eye movements. It's absolutely awesome fun. Perhaps you want to go play a poker game or something like that. Go and do that. When you're playing poker, you can actually practice these skills without people knowing that you're practicing these skills. So it's not even about poker anymore. This is just about you practicing some eye skills. So sometimes the eye will move so slowly and so small that you won't even notice that they're doing a visual construct or something like that. That's okay. That's just somebody who has been practicing it for a while, even if they don't know if they're practicing it. And others will make predominant eye movements when they're accessing those memories and in different speeds, okay? So the key of this skill is to practice and to not take any information as a personal attack. So, if somebody's constructing information and you know it to be the truth and it's the undeniable truth, understand that this person is not deliberately lying to you. This is not a personal attack. This is just the person trying to protect themselves rather than being honest. Okay? Simple as that. This is not a personal attack on you. This does not make them a bad person. It just makes them someone that's trying to protect themselves. And it's good. It's a good thing to protect yourself. Just reconstruct the situation and ask for a different answer. So join me in the next video. I'm going to teach you all about the script setup. When you've worked out the script setup and how it all works and molds and gels in together, all of a sudden your sessions will run so much smoother, so much easier, and that overwhelm period will be completely gone. So I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.